So this is a slideshow of the life and times of Crazy Pete, at least when I knew him. And I did know him a long, long, long time until the day he died. This was in the early, I would say early 70s or late 60s. And he was on a Cuban schooner next to us at Yacht Haven. And my stepmother managed to convince my mother to hire him as a teacher for us kids because the nannies that had been brought in for my stepfather's children, the men visiting the house were always chasing the nanny. And so she thought maybe a male nanny would be a good thing. So Pete was hired to be our teacher. So this is the back room of the Pied Piper where my brother and I used to sleep, and we're back of the engine room. There's the boat passing Hurricane Hole way back in the day. She was an ex-military air sea rescue or PT boat. My father drove them during the war. That's this Pete's boat. He's mooning us, making funny pictures. And these are the collection I have of the schooner at the dock. This is many years later. He came to and tied up at the dock for free dockage. And my mother tried to put him to work, but he ended up working for Club Med. Anyway, well, getting fish. Anyway, this is some lead he sold me. This is a great shot of inside the cabin, which was amazing. It had a human skull and a monkey skeleton and all kinds of hand-carved woodwork. I think some of the cabinets were from the Pied Piper when after she was destroyed on Paradise Island shipyard. He salvaged the mahogany doors. And anyway, it was a beautiful interior, very exotic and cool. Anyway, this is his dog, Craze. He had a couple of these scruffy things. That's Captain Wind from the Windjammer. Pete's showing off a picture of taking his dog diving with me. And there's the picture. And this is a photo shoot he did with GQ magazine because the models were too afraid to do the more dangerous climbing of the rigging. This is the whole article, but you'll see Pete coming up in a little bit, doing the dangerous stuff up in the rigging and on the bow of the boat. There he is on the bow. It looks like the girl wasn't afraid. Anyway, this is us moving a cannon that I found. Bobby Simonette's secretary had told us there were four. She came over and walked with us, and I went off to take a pee and found it in the bush. And here we're pulling it up on top of the hill with a big come along type thing. That's kind of cool. It later got taken to Club Med. This is seeing America off with his other dog in the whaler. They're just getting ready to put up sail. I took some great shots this day. And these are close up of his dog. Oh, it was funny. He used to not allow his dog to look at him while he was eating. He had to wait for the scraps. And yeah, these are more shots of America. She was a pretty cool boat. I never got to sail on her, unfortunately, at all the time she was at the dock. She didn't really sail much. She just came and tied up because we had good depth of water for her to tie up. And that's a Christmas tree up the mast. That was my father's tradition. I think my mother told them about it. That's a Bahamian dinghy taking stuff across the island. Look, it doesn't look like conch shells, but probably water jugs and whatever. So this is going out to sea. I chased them out to harbor. It was kind of dark that day, so it didn't get good exposure. This is Pete at Chalks Airlines. Seeing me off where I used to fly back home to Paradise. Didn't have to pay that $25 taxi from the airport. You could fly right to Paradise and get picked up by boat. So that's in 1977, probably when I was in college. And what else? He had two bikes, I think. And anyway, that's one of them. He was in a really bad accident in Florida. Where the city didn't properly mark some construction they were doing, and he ended up being badly injured. And in fact, when they went to put him in the ambulance, He said, I've got broken ribs. Don't make me lie down or it'll puncture my lung. And sure enough, they made him lie down because there were rules and regulations about strapping him down in the ambulance. And so he got a punctured lung. It happened to be that we were visiting Florida and saw him in the hospital, which was kind of good timing. So Pete got this store owner to give him a camera. And so when he came to Nassau, we took these pictures so that they could be displayed in the store to help the sales of the camera, which is his payback. Kind of cool idea. So we went diving for lobster out at his favorite spot where some jeeps had been dropped. And the stinging coral was growing on the wheel. It was kind of cool, so we took posing pictures. That's me. And then he did get a couple of lobster out of there. He was a great diver. And he had a special sling that had a thing that could kill sharks. Yeah, so this is getting dressed up for dinner next to the Pied Piper, Yacht Haven, on one of his visits. We were in touch for many, many years. This is a cigarette boat that was at the house. That's Rose and Audrey. And that's my little race boat in the background. This guy's doing a photo shoot there. The musicians were staying. It was at the time that Ringo Starr stayed at the house. And these guys really didn't know how to run the boat, so Pete taught them. Also was their bodyguard when they went into town. And so that was kind of a cool time. I took the shots from my boat. So this might have been Pete's last visit to Nassau. He anchored off the Sears house. And I came by in my boat and climbed the mast and took these pictures. There's my little boat, the Red Rooster. Got it from Bruce Mora. And that's the Club Med. And that yellow boat is the Flying Swan, which was Stafford Morris's famous boat. And it was used for smuggling or something or another. Anyway, those were her last days. So this is some more pictures of them carrying on, and I'm just taking some funny pictures. It's like a boat sailing by, and just having fun. Right in front of Club Med, I guess it was, but that's near the Sears house. So this is Pete's boat. Somebody must have given him, and he was restoring it. He did an amazing job making a fuel tank by putting formica in a round position and glassing it and then pulling the formica out. Showed me how he did it. It was pretty ingenious. I made that name for the stern of the boat. And there's the beautiful clean engine. He did a beautiful job on it. He was really meticulous. That's his best friend Gary. We went for a cruise. Gary considered him the Fonz. Yeah, I visited Gary and he told me some great stories. I'd heard the one about when he first had some people rob him and Crazy Pete got the guy to return everything. And that was one of his really great stories. But they were best friends, and Gary considered him the Fonz. He was such a cool guy. And anyway, I did visit Gary, and we had some great stories told. Anyway, this is taking the boat for a test run. And I made the name for the back of the boat, I think with Photoshop. This is with my boat, the Slingshot, when I first had her. And that's with Yuri cruising. Actually, I had him help me to bring Dream Machine back from Florida, but there's no pictures of that. So we met up at the boat show and had a lot of fun there. This is a picture probably on the Pied Piper. Yeah, on the Pied Piper. He probably made that shirt. I was going to say I made it, but no, I think he hand painted that. And the belt buckle is black coral with gold. He did amazing work. You're going to see a later picture of him with his watch, which was amazing. Yeah, so here's the watch. You see it there. It's solid gold. He made one for Captain Wynn, and actually I got quite a story to tell, although I don't like to tell it because he seemed to think I had something to do with it. Anyway, we were at Monty Trainer's. I ran into him at the bar there, and I was going, wow, there's the watch that Pete made for you, and we're talking about it. What I didn't realize is all the talk about it, some guy sitting next to him at the bar after I left robbed him of the watch. And And later when I saw him, he somehow thought I had something to do with it. I was really insulted. I was just admiring it, and I knew that Pete had made it. And this is the one in this picture is the one he made for himself, for a gold Rolex. Everything handmade in gold with all kinds of cool things. I wish I had a close-up picture of it. And it's a very, if it's ever found, it would definitely be easily recognized because it was a one-of-a-kind watch. Well, I should say two of a kind because one was Captain Wynn's and one was Pete's. I think this is Davy Boulevard. I think it's where my dad had a dock slip. It looks like that bridge. I can't be sure. Anyway, that's Gary again, his best friend. I think I printed that picture. This is an article that was written about him, and I didn't put it in the video because it was just you wouldn't be able to read it. This picture has a story. When I visited him, I stayed at his place. He had made this beautiful headboard, and it was modeled after this photograph. So I scanned the photograph, but I never got a picture of the headboard. Yeah, this is Pete's mom, and it's quite a beautiful story about his mother. She was in a home up in New York, and when he went to see her, he found her full of bed sores and in terrible condition. And he says, I'm taking her out of here. And they said, you're not allowed to do that. And he says, watch me. And he picked her up and he walked out of the old folks home with her and took her to Florida and did all that he could to get care for her. He lived in a tiny little, he had rented out the house that he and Gary had bought. And but he lived in this little side room which just had a bathroom and a shower. I stayed there last time I visited. It's been fixed up pretty nicely now, but she slept on the downstairs and he slept, well, when I say downstairs, he slept in a loft above and she slept down below. She had had a stroke and she could hardly, you couldn't understand what she was saying, but Pete knew everything. She would kind of go rah, 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 rah. And Pete knew what she was talking about. He fed her, he cared for her, and it was just an amazing story. He dedicated much of the end of his life to her, and she lived on for years and years. They had expected her to pass away pretty quickly. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful story.